the entrepreneur bait and switch. This is something that came up in one of my coaching calls with the neuro coaches. So I have a program that teaches the neuro coaching model to those who are coaches or want to become coaches. And we were in a training session all around the neuro coaching model when the idea of calling and boredom came up. And this exact conversation just was mirrored again in my community, in my Epic Success community, where we are coaching around the model of training your brain to transform your business. And I really knew I had to do a podcast on this, mostly because I've been through it myself. I used to have conversations in my head around, is this my true calling? Is this really what I was put on the earth to do? As soon as I would get bored with what I was doing. And I'm just going to be real right now because I don't think this is being talked about a lot. And this is what I see derail so many amazingly brilliant and talented entrepreneurs and keeps them spinning into a business that they don't want. So what do I mean by this? So if you've ever taken the Visionary Integrator quiz from Rocket Fuel, I would highly recommend it. We'll put that as a link down in the show notes because before I took this quiz, I thought something wasn't right with me. Like I would start projects and I would be so full of passion for them and so into them. And I would take them to the point where they got up and running and were successful. And then I would want to move on to the next thing. I would admit that I was getting bored and I still enjoyed showing up, but I would get bored because that creative process had finished. And that is the signal or the sign that you're a visionary. And once I took that quiz and really realized that is who I am, we're the starters of the world. We're the ones that light the fire and start movements. And then we need people to come alongside us and support the vision and support the systems and support the vision coming to not just fruition, but longevity so that I can have massive impact in lives. And once I was able to make that tweak in my business, I stopped asking myself the question of, is this my calling? Should I be doing something different? I don't feel so driven or motivated by this anymore. And one of the things that I do know is as you're building as an entrepreneur, if you're a visionary, if this speaks to you. Now, for my integrator folks, this is going to give you a great insight into the people you might be working with. But as a visionary, we see things that nobody else sees, and we see solutions to problems that nobody else sees. And we know how to start fires, and we know how to enroll people in the vision, and we know how to move them to have it come to life. And then if we do not have the support around us, we don't ground. This is a concept I call grounding. We don't ground. And so what that means is we don't take that beautiful vision that we just gave birth to, that came to life, that people are behind the movement, and we don't ground it in systems, in processes, and in structure so that it can impact multiple hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives. And so what we do, if we don't know that this is what's happening, is we jump from thing to thing, business to business. And I just heard this on one of my coaching calls yesterday where somebody was saying, you know, she's a brilliant client. I mean, brilliant human being. And she's saying, I'm not sure if this is my calling. So as we talked through, she had started with an MLM, and then she felt a huge fire burning desire to create a health and wellness business because of something going on with her family. So she did that and she launched and she wanted $10,000 months. She got really close to it. And on the call, she was saying, I'm bored. I don't have passion for this anymore. Maybe this isn't my calling. Maybe this isn't what God called me to because I'm getting bored. And I want to say to you, if that is you right now, with all the love in my heart, please stop using your emotions and the idea that you don't have passion for something anymore as a reason to pivot. Because those who really do well as visionaries in the entrepreneur game, they shift instead of pivot. They shift instead of pivot. Now, there are times that you pivot. Now, a pivot is where you go straight, you get more information, you see a degree of a shift, you realize that you need to shift a little bit, 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, because it's a better solution to the same group of people. It's serving them deeper, more holistically. And that is a very common thing. In masterminds that I'm in, I see people doing these pivots, but it's not a hard left. It's usually a 2 or 3 degree shift that has happened over time that better serves and is more aligned. But what I'm talking about is when you say, I'm not feeling it anymore, I'm not jazzed by it anymore, it's not lighting me up, I don't want to get in and do it anymore, then I am going to challenge you to ground. And what I mean by that is start putting people in your business around you that are integrators, that are people who can take that beautiful, gorgeous vision that you just gave birth to and were excited about and create systems, processes, and strategies that can now allow you to just show up and do the thing that you love to do. So I will use this as an example with my own business. I started a program called the Epic Success Program. And that program is all around coaching through this neuro-coaching model that I've created that allows for a brain-based transformation to take place actually in the brain, where we change neurochemicals, we change neural pathways, and actually create a success pathway in your brain and remove the pathway that literally is trained in your brain to sabotage your success. So this is a pathway that is putting the brakes on for so many entrepreneurs, and they jump ship, not just like a degree, but they go from that to an entirely different business because they felt bored. So in my business, as I got Epic Success up and running and I ran my first few groups, I realized real quickly that where I come alive is in the coaching, is in the model, is helping people walk through the model, is helping people get into the zone of transforming their entire business, life, health, everything from the standpoint of a brain-based transformation, a source-based transformation. And I also get lit up by training other coaches or those who want to be, to get that level of transformation, to stop getting the transformation, the Band-Aid transformation is what I call when you're trying to shift via willpower or via language or via question, but truly getting a source-based transformation, a neural network transformation that allows change and habit to become effortless. So that's what lights me up. What didn't light me up is all of the pieces of the puzzle that held the structure together, all the email follow-ups and all the different things that had to happen in order for us to get it out to the world and in order for us to sustain it, to onboard, and to maintain it. Those were the things that did not light me up. And for a while, not with Epic Success, but my prior consulting business, I recognized when I was doing just my own thing, I could kind of ebb and flow based on what I wanted to do. But once you start stepping into a bigger vision, really one that's transformative, a mission, a movement, then it's vital that you get this grounding around you. And so I hired my integrator and I started hiring my team, all of which I very specifically made sure they were high on the integrator scale and high on, I am an INTJ, a very outgoing one. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, and we're going to dive into a little bit about what that means in terms of brain science and how we're able to mesh those kind of quizzes together with brain science and how does that impact. We'll do that on a different podcast. But knowing that about myself, I don't want another high visionary, high thinker judger, a high 3 on as my team, because then we would all be creating, we'd all be starting, and nothing would be getting done. So I really want to challenge you today to just take a moment take the quiz if you haven't taken the quiz, and really go through the idea of, if you are a visionary, if you've realized, oh, that's why I'm getting bored. It's not that you're not called to the thing that you love to do. It's that you're doing the things that you don't love, and therefore it is feeling heavy. Therefore you're caught up in the details. You're caught up in the minutia that makes a business run. And that is the thing that is making it feel heavy and unmotivating and not passionate. You're not passionate about the details. You're passionate about the transformation. You're passionate about the vision. You're passionate about the movement. And that is where you need to be spending your time, in that creative, in that serving, in that zone where it lights you up and you want to show up fully for your people and help them get that transformation in your own special way. Once I was able to make this shift, I never again asked the question, is this my calling? Is this the thing I'm really meant to do on the planet? Because as soon as I clicked into how I was wired and embraced it and then grounded it with support around me, all of a sudden, like total other levels of passion and lighting up. And it came as soon as I was able to fully pour myself into serving my tribe, serving those who are in Epic Success program, really transform their brain so they can transform their business and their life and their health. And then also training my neuro coaches to get their certification and then their master certification so that they can go out and do the same in their communities and make a difference with their tribe. And to me, that's that ripple effect, and nothing lights me up like that. So I want to challenge you to ask yourself, what are the things that are dragging you down, and do you have the support? And if I know you're going to say, as I did at the time, well, I don't know if I can afford to hire somebody to be an integrator. Here's the thing that I want to tell you right now. You can't afford not to, because that's where visions and dreams go to die, in the I can't afford. You can't afford not to bring on a grounding integrator, somebody who puts systems and structure into your business, because your success, your momentum comes from the other side of structure and systems, so that you are allowed to show up just in your genius. Now, does that mean I never get dragged down into the minutiae? Yeah, of course I do. But I have a really great relationship with my integrator, and she is very protective of my visionariness and my 5% of my time, or 95% of my time being spent in only the areas that really make a difference. So I hope by us talking about this today, you really start to realize that vision, that dream, that calling that you were initially given, the thing that lights you up when you're actually with people, is the thing that you were called to do. And you need to ground that so that it can come to life, because given you and how you're wired, you will continue to go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing without a grounding. So I really want to encourage you to ground. Now, on that side of grounding, I need to bring up this subject. This idea that it should just be light and easy and airy and unicorns and rainbows if I am in my aligned space. I think that is something that is being taught online that is false, that is a lie. That is, now when I'm in alignment, when I am working in my 5%, I feel amazing. But don't confuse that with feeling like no resistance, feeling like it's not a hard thing. Sometimes the most beautiful alignment is when I'm doing the hardest things I've ever done, and there's no manual and there's no how-to steps to take, because nobody's gone there before, and I have to take risky steps and chance the failure, and that is hard. Now that's a perception, right? So I have now trained my brain. My mind believes when I step into resistance, when I do things that seem hard, I am in alignment. And I just want to speak this out, because so many people just pivot to taking on a new project because it feels less resistant. It feels easier. We love the startup, don't we, visionaries? We love that new energy. And here's the thing. Your $1 million business, your movement, your mission is on the other side of standing in your calling, getting grounded, having support around you so that structure can be built, and then leaning into the resistance and the hard things that have never been done before, because you are blazing a trail. Anybody who you look up to that is doing big things in the world did not have a how-to manual to the steps that they took. They were the front runners, and people are asking them now, what are the steps that you take? And then they're taking those steps, and then they're wondering why they aren't blazing a trail. There is absolute and total gold in the belief. Remember, we've talked about this over and over again. A belief is just a thought repeated over and over again, combined with emotion that your subconscious automates. A belief is just a thought combined with emotions repeated over time that your subconscious says, thank you, I will now automate that. The belief that I can do hard things, and that the very best of my business, the very best things that have happened in my life were on the other side of that belief. Or think about it. If you moms out there, can you imagine you were saying, like, we get pregnant and we're like, no, I that seems really hard. I think I'm going to pivot over here. Like, no, you go through and you have the baby and it's hard. That's not a simple thing, but on the other side of it is such gold. Is such gold. And it's the same thing with your business, and it's the same thing with your health. And I want to leave this podcast with a story. It is a story that we hear here in California a lot, and it's just so poignant. There was a gentleman here in California during the gold rush, and he leveraged and got into massive debt to buy machinery that could get gold out of the mountains here. And he set it all up. This is like a tour that I've been on with my daughter. It's amazing. And they used the machinery to dig into the mountains. He was like millions of dollars in debt. And we're talking back in the gold rush days. So, I mean, it was just, he went into massive debt, right? Family gave him tons of money, all of that. But they knew there was gold in the mountains, just like we know that there's gold in our business. But, as we start to move, we see the vision, we see that it's there. And so did he. And they drilled and they drilled and they drilled. And he started having this same entrepreneur bait and switch feeling of like, well, I'm not as passionate about it. Like, we're working so hard, and they were getting little bits of gold. So they were getting some, but certainly not enough to, pay for any of the debt or anything like that, right? And isn't that like us, right? We get little wins and little sales, and we think, oh, that this isn't the big thing that I keep seeing everybody else saying that's there. But he kept drilling and he kept drilling. And finally one day he just had it. And he decided that he was going to change directions. He was going to pivot. He's no longer passionate about it, no longer interested in it. He sold the machinery for 1/10 of the value to a gentleman, and he went into banking. And I think he ended up committing suicide or something along those lines, because he just had so much debt, never got there. The gentleman who bought the equipment was only drilling for less than 1 week, where they hit the gold mine, the vein of gold in the state of California. The gentleman who sold his machinery was literally a 1/4 inch away from the wealthiest gold vein in all of history. And I just want to leave you with that thought today, that I don't want to see any other brilliant entrepreneur like you pivot when the gold is just a 1/4 inch away. I want to encourage you to ground, get your support, and tell yourself, prime your brain to say, everything is on the side of doing hard things, because hard things create the most amazing results. I'm here for you. I'm cheering you on. I know you have greatness in you, and I want to see it come to fruition. That's what I have for you on this week of the Epic Success Podcast. I cannot wait to see you next week. Bye for now.